Hello viewers, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm so glad that you're here to share with us the life story we're going to be bringing here today. Many of you are celebrating Mother's Day and you got so many gifts from your children, so many hugs, and many of you are still eating the chocolate you got from that time. The joy of being a mother, it's awesome, and many of us have felt all the time what it feels like to have your child saying, "I love you, mommy, good night, mommy." Now, there are some other people out there who don't get that joy. And that is where we go to assisted fertilization, whereby these people are looking everywhere for a way to become a parent. Today, we're going to be talking to the director of Fertility, Alison, who is going to be telling us more about egg donation and the joy that you can feel as a donor by giving someone else's a chance. There are people out there who need you, and it's such a big problem with the Black community, the African community, because of the stigma attached to fertilization, especially infertility. So viewers, chill out and wait as we speak to Alison today. And I know the life story today will touch you. So as you can share this gift with somebody, or you can share this information with somebody out there. Welcome to the program. So much to come to the program today.
No, I'm delighted to be here, and it's really good to be able to talk about this to you, actually.
Yes, I mean, Fertility, tell us about it. How did you form Fertility? The name as well, how did you come up with that?
I started Fertility because I was working at Guy's Hospital for about 20 years. I've been in the NHS and I've been in various other units. And I saw so many couples who were really, really struggling to have a baby. And I felt it was very important to be able to give them impartial advice about how to help move forward with this, whether that was to come to terms with not having children or to actually find a way for going forward with assisted conception. So I had a couple who needed help to find an egg donor, and at the time we advertised, and somebody came forward who was a perfect match for that couple. And I thought, actually, you know what, with my experience, my training, I just need to be able to help couples find a way forward to actually get a donor. So my experience is both in general fertility, so I know the backgrounds of all the fertility and the fertility treatments, but also I felt that, you know, my own personal thing was to help couples find an egg donor, because it was perceived to be impossible to find egg donors in this country. Now, working with couples, it was particularly important for Black people and Asian women to actually have children. I think almost more so than Caucasian couples in some sort of way, as it's so much part of their culture. And it's really them which I really want to actually try and reach women out there who can actually help those people. So that's what I'm really here to do.
Well, when you said egg donor, it sounds so easy. You know, when somebody tells me to donate for charity, I can go back to my bank and put some money in. But egg donation, what kind of implications do we have there? What kind of process is it?
Okay. Well, the process to be an egg donor is relatively straightforward. A lot of people, A, don't know they can be an egg donor, but secondly, the awareness is not there. And actually, there are a lot of myths around what is involved with egg donation. Now, essentially, a woman produces about 10 to 12 eggs every month, but only one of that group you ovulate naturally. So in an egg donation cycle, the point is to have the same hormone which you naturally produce to get that whole group of eggs ready, and that is the group you donate. Does that make sense? Yes. And so you actually cannot keep those eggs. They're going to go anyway, because once you've released an egg, it causes the others to stop growing and they shrivel up and they just basically die. And this is a process which women go through every single month. So as a donor, you donate just that one group of eggs which you're going to lose anyway. And it does not affect your fertility. Now, I know that's really an important point, because many people think that they shouldn't do this because they might not be able to have their own children in the future. But it doesn't affect your fertility, because this is a process which happens every month. So you donate just that one group of eggs, and then the following month, once you've donated them, your cycles will come back, and your body will continue to produce eggs.
Well, Janet decided to just wake up one day, I am going to donate egg to one of my friends out there, you know, and I come to actually, you know what, I'm donating for that couple. Is it that easy?
Yes, it is. It is literally that easy.
Wow. And because I know I'm going to ovulate next month, so can I say that I'm going to donate to them next month or something?
No, it is a process, and it's quite a lengthy process, and it depends on whichever centre you go to as to how long it takes to go through. So on average, it's about 3 to 4 months. Now, it starts off with one appointment where you actually talk through what's entailed in the donation cycle. You actually talk to a counsellor about the issues that arise in the long-term future, and you meet the consultants and you actually discuss how this is going to affect you personally, and actually they'll do a medical screening. And then there's a long wait for the screening results to be processed, and only after a couple of months do you actually start. So the cycle itself takes place over about 10 days, 10 to 14 days. So it's 10 to 14 days of commitment, and I think the main thing about this is it is a commitment, because you are going to need to go for scans fairly frequently during that treatment cycle, and you do need to be prepared to commit the time to doing that. But
so you said treatment, so there's medication involved.
There's medication involved.
With taking this medication?
The risks as a donor are not the same as if you were trying to get pregnant through IVF, because it's basically an IVF cycle, which many people will have heard about on the news or read about and seen programs about, and you know, it's very much out there. But for a donor, they don't need this treatment to help them become pregnant. That's quite clear. So for them, the medication that they need to go on, which is the same hormone which they naturally produce, and for the treatment itself, it's much quicker, it's much more straightforward, and so the risks, and because the combination of drugs is not the same as if you were trying to get pregnant with IVF, you don't have the same risks. So the risks are very short term, they're very short-lived. And if it was at all risky for one individual not to do it, because after all we're all different, so it might be that you run a greater risk because of a certain medical condition or factor that you have, then you would be advised not to do it. And nobody wants you to do it if this is going to risk your health. This is just not possible. Now, I mean, can anybody be an egg donor, or the screening process do take some people out of the bracket? Yeah, you need to be between 18 and 35, because after 35, even though you're having regular periods, your fertility will be slightly different. The chromosomal changes in the eggs will be starting to take place. So you need to be under 35. And there are certain criteria. You need to be have a BMI of under 30. You need to be free of any inherited or genetic illnesses or diseases. You need to not have any history in your family of certain conditions. So there are going to be people who would love to do this and can help, but they unfortunately can't help. And we get people coming to us who are over 35 or have got history in their family of say sickle cell or thalassemia, conditions which would mean that they couldn't carry on to be a donor.
Wow. That's quite sad, because I'm thinking about the couples who might really desperately want a baby and are looking for a donor out there. How difficult is it for you to find a donor for a really needy couple?
It's actually incredibly difficult, which is why I'm so grateful for you to be airing this, because I think one of the problems that we have is that with Black and Asian communities, the stigma attached to infertility is massive. I mean, I've worked with people all my professional life where they have been crying in silence behind closed doors, and they lose the contact that they had with friends and family because they feel so ostracised that they haven't got a child. It's such a stigma, And for us to try and raise awareness, to actually say, look, you know, there are people that you will know, but you won't know that they're suffering in this way, who need your help. And it's actually incredibly difficult to reach the black community because I think there's such a stigma attached to this, and the shame attached to not having a child is quite...
So for us, black community, what do you think we can do to actually raise awareness that infertility is no, you know, it's actually normal, that some people have gone through infertility and they've adopted, they've gone through IVF, because I think it's not, this, assisted fertilization is not really more acceptable in the African community. How do we really embrace that? How can we teach our own people to embrace that?
Well, I think it's actually talking about it, and it's really difficult because you're having to turn the ship right around. But I think the fact that, you know, people like yourselves are prepared to expose this, I think it's about getting it written up in black magazines, about actually Facebook. I mean, this generation of the people who can help, the 18 to 35-year-olds, are very much into social media, to actually start talking about it, start twittering about it. I mean, I'd be really appreciative if anybody was actually going to sort of start having contact on Facebook with us and just passing the message out there that, you know, it's nothing to be ashamed of. There are all sorts of reasons why people can't have a baby. It could be that they've gone through cancer treatment. It could be that they've gone through menopause very early. It's not their fault. It is absolutely not that person's fault. It's just another condition that they have, similar to diabetes or anything else, but they need help to get over that.
Well, having been a mom for a while now, I know the attachment I feel with my child. And if I was to donate an egg, how do I deal with that attachment? How do I deal with knowing that my child, or somebody who was meant to be my child, is somewhere else living with someone? How do you deal with that from a donor's perspective?
It's quite difficult, because if you have that attitude, what you're looking at is you're looking at your child and thinking, they're just wonderful, they're me, I can see a little me out there. But what you need to realise is you are only donating an egg. You are not donating a child. These eggs are going to go anyway. Every month they're going to go. It's not like you sort of think, every month I'm losing 10 of my children. You won't even be thinking about it. It is up to that couple to make a child. So when you donate an egg, the husband fertilises those eggs, and the woman then has to carry a baby, and she gives birth to it and she brings it up. It is their child. I don't think if somebody feels so strongly that they're giving a child that it is the right thing for them to be a donor. I actually don't think, if you're going to be that emotionally attached to it, it's not the right.
Well, actually, it's not a charity. So, what are the financial implications for the couple that is looking to get assisted infertility, and also for the donor?
We're not a charity, no, but we do charge couples to find a donor, because for us to actually do all the advertising, to actually do all the screening of the donors, to actually support a donor going through treatment is obviously massively expensive. The cost to most of the fertility treatment in the UK has to be covered by the couple, and it can vary hugely from 3,000 to 8,000 and probably up. But some couples actually can go to their PCT. So if you've got a couple out there who need help, who've been struggling, they can go to their GP, who can actually see if they could be funded for egg donation treatment. So, and that will be paid for by the government.
Is it likely for the couple to get lucky the first time round, or do you have to keep trying and trying until it happens?
Yep, it is with a one-to-one egg donation, which is what we support very much, because that means that one donor will donate to one couple. They have the very, very best chance of getting a family from that donor, and that's that they have the chance of having fresh embryos to put back. So the chances are very high of them conceiving. But if it doesn't work the first time, with the donor's consent, that couple can use any frozen embryos for another try, or for genetically related siblings in the future. So one person out there can just help one couple, but my gosh, it's such a gift that it really is. It's such a gift.
No, I can only imagine. I can only imagine what if, and because I'm not in the what if situation, it's only that imagination. And I know, looking at people who are going through this, who've gone through IVF, didn't work, who have lost hope. So I know from the friends that I know how much difficult it is for them to actually grasp the fact that they've gone through all this and it didn't happen. So how do you counsel such couples who now, even after trying all this, it didn't happen? Do you just leave them? Is there a process to, if they didn't get pregnant through these, what is the way forward?
Yeah, well, they have access to counsellors in all the licensed centres, because it's the government are actually insisting that people have the right to counselling at the centre. So, but it is a really difficult one. It's a wound which doesn't often heal up for people, so they're left long term. But if egg donation is a possibility for them, a lot of Black and Asian women do actually opt out, really. They somehow manage, I don't know how they do it, but they somehow manage to not go any further, whether they go abroad or whether they come to terms with it. But I think it's partly because they themselves don't realise that this option is there for them, that chance to have a child from a donor. And it's also sperm donors as well. And to actually try and get more donors in, the government have stated that there is a bit of compensation for donors, and it's currently at £750, which isn't a lot, but it actually does help a little bit to offset some of the commitment and some of the defray some of the costs of travel or childcare that they might get.
And if it won't affect the fertility of a person, so this would be quite enticing for young people, wouldn't it, to help someone else out there? How do we, I will not call it recruit, but how do we bring out the altruistic nature of the young people, who maybe have not even had a child, to actually assist someone have a child?
Well, I think it's really about actually getting the message out there how badly they're needed, and getting them to understand perhaps the massive impact, on asking them to put themselves into some other woman's shoes. A lot of other donors sort of donate because they can understand what it might be like not to be able to have a child, or if there are people out there, women out there who have got children, to actually imagine what it could be like. You were a mum, you can actually think, what would it be like if I wouldn't have had my children? And it really does. And if that's how people begin to think about being a donor, is actually putting themselves into another woman's shoes and realising that actually, through no fault of theirs, they actually are in this position where they need help from a donor.
Wow. It's really hard to put yourself in such a position and someone's shoe and what they could be going through. So Alison, from a truist perspective, what would you tell our viewers out there about how they can get to Altrui, how they can work with you? It's your time to talk to my viewers.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Well, we do have a website called www.altrui.co.uk, so you can go on that and have a look. We also have a page which you can land on, which is basically go to donate eggs. And then the main thing is that you need to understand is that you'll never ever be pushed or pressured into doing this. It is a gift that you're giving, and there's no one who's telling you you've got to do this. It's just something you need to know exactly what's involved, that they fully understand how they can help. And that might just be putting a note up on their Facebook page or liking us, or and we will actually explain and give them as much time as they want. We explain everything that's involved, give them as much time as they want. And only after we've really been quite clear about the commitment and what's going to happen. And if they still want to do it, we'd love to take them forward, but we just completely understand if that's just too much of an ask of them. But if they can, if I can just find one woman or 2 women or 10 women, who can actually help some of the couples that we need help for, that would just be absolutely incredible to be able to help them.
Have people on your list
we have people, we have people, and it's just heartbreaking because we go so far, and this happens the whole time, and it's really about the number of people who are you know, who get to know about this, because the more people who know, the more likely is just out of that number, just 1 or 2 people will be able to do this and feel comfortable about doing this. And I think very much the Asian and the black communities, you know, they are the group that we really need to reach, really, and say we need your help big time.
As we ask you viewers to reach within yourself and find that altruistic person that can help a couple out there have the joy of motherhood and fatherhood. We're going to be meeting next Lucy. That's what we're going to call her for confidentiality purposes. She's going to tell us about the journey she underwent to make a special couple so happy, giving them the gift of motherhood.